Inside the Actors Studio is kind of ridiculous, but also kind of engrossing.
I love him. He's corny, but
he's ridiculous. But man, he will get his interview with Chappelle was fabulous.
Yeah.
His interview with even with Will Ferrell was pretty damn good. No, I mean it's like he does a very good job, especially disarming people who are very used to having good jokes and having comebacks and being able to talk about stuff very superficially like comedians do. Although, of course, that's not to say comedy's not superficial, but like they're often getting at very good things, but it's much deeper. The comedy's like the sugar that helps the medicine go down. For the most part, I think the convention of interviews is pretty uninspired for the most part. I think that's the reason. I think that's part of the reason why AMAs are so popular, because even when you have someone who is, politicians are the easy example, when you have people who are still giving fairly stock answers, you can't let their guard down too much.
Right.
It feels more authentic because of the spontaneity of the questions and because of the diversity and because of the because you could ask someone what their thoughts are on CISPA and then immediately follow up with a question about whether or not they would battle a horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses.
That's what I love.
And that is something, the advantage the internet has there, and I guess Reddit, but I guess, new media has, is they aren't hung up by their own legacy.
Now, where do you see the internet being in...
I was like, fucking, I mean, the whole thing is really hot. Yeah.
Where do you see the internet being in 30 years? I have my crazy theories, but I think you're probably more right.
Well, I don't know.
That's good answer. Internet in 50 years, just your crazy...
You said 30 years.
Your craziest theory.
Stick to your question. Wait, 30 or 50?
Does it matter that much in 20 years?
No, yeah, I couldn't even tell you beyond like 5.
I know, so I'm going to challenge you 50 years.
I don't even know if I'll be alive in 50 years.
You're going to be in cryo sleep.
Hopefully I'm uploaded to the Matrix by then. I have no idea. I mean, I don't know, I suppose it can go really well, it could go really poorly. I want to be more utopian than dystopian, but still kind of reasonable about it. I don't know. I mean, we would have, if we don't screw it up, we would potentially have this incredible platform for people to exchange ideas and be learning from one another, as well as, sharing the great ideas that they have and things that they make. Because for all of human history, we've basically been like learning from one another, right? Because like at some point, someone picked up the rock, and the anthropologist got hanging from this, I don't know, and then used it to kill a fish, like a squirrel, and realized that was more useful than using their bare hands. And so that terrible example of a tool was something that someone else saw that woman doing and going like, oh, that's a way better way to hunt. Let me copy that and use it.
Right.
And fast forward to today, and so much of the software economy that drives what's going on is, open source. It's based on these exact same principles. So much creativity in every sense of the word is based on that. Whether you hear how artists are inspired from works of their contemporaries as well as their predecessors. Like, okay, this is nothing. Creativity comes from being able to freely exchange these ideas and take these risks and take these little chances. We try something a little different, a little new, and sometimes it fails, but sometimes it works. And if it works well enough, that idea spreads. And when the internet works, when we have access for everyone, and when everyone is equipped with the skills to make the most out of it, we should have better everything. We should be able to get the best ideas, and we should be able to benefit from all of our collective genius and whatever it is that interests us, right? Like, we see this happening in a very, very, what I hope microcosmic, I hope it's a microcosm, in that in software shows, how much very, very talented people, very, very talented people have very, very valuable time, sort of in the free market, are willing to donate that time and contribute to novices and or help out novices or contribute to code bases that are open source, or basically bring us all forward because they know they too are standing on the shoulders of giants. I mean, that's the reason Reddit is open source, is because that was the only thing about Reddit that wasn't open source. It was Reddit itself, so we figured why not. If that can be a glimpse into what could happen to so many areas of our life, I'm really hopeful, because if you can actually get access to everyone and give them the skills to make the most out of it, that's just going to mean, like I said, it's going to mean better stuff, because it's going to mean that the internet is technologically an efficient marketplace. Technologically, when all links are created equal, it is efficient. Like there's my buddy who's a stay-at-home dad in Pennsylvania is building a Google competitor called DuckDuckGo. I want to live in a world. I think he got a significant round of venture funding. Like people are betting on him being a competitor and one day dethroning Google. And I need to live in a world where I know that some random stay-at-home dad in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, can start a Google killer from his house. Like that, there needs to be that kind of. There needs to be that kind of sort of level playing field
to ensure that we don't get these
technology.
mega corporations sort of like saying, I can do whatever I want.
Yes, and so that, so again, that's one specific example, but that promise only. All right, so the technology is fundamentally democratic and a level playing field, and that's part of the reason why I think so many of us are drawn to it. However, people and society is unfortunately not meritocratic, and I think one of the big challenges for the next 50 years is making sure that we get the internet that we deserve, that we get the internet that stays true to its ideals and its full potential, because unfortunately we humans have a way of screwing that sort of stuff up typically. But it means that if we get what we want, if we get this ideal, it's going to mean, just like I said, unprecedented innovation, unprecedented creativity, unprecedented access to information. It makes me, it makes me sad when I hear people complain that Google, there's somewhere a book about this, Google makes us stupid, because I don't remember that the Civil War lasted from 1861 to 1865, because I know I can Google it, although it is true. You get people complaining that Google makes us dumb because we don't need to memorize that anymore. And I would say, okay, well that is a downside, that is sort of the curse, but what is the gift? The gift is now someone who wants to learn anything they want to learn about the Civil War doesn't have to go to the library, doesn't have to in any way fight to get access for this information so long as they have an internet connection. And while that has huge implications here in the developed world, think of what a difference it makes in the developing world. When
Giving them
access to information, to the world's best information, was something that was hoarded, something that was guarded, something it was a tragedy when we lost the library at Alexandria. The internet is infinitely more powerful and more valuable than that library, and that was still part of a legacy where information was something that was only for a few and not for all. And that's not to say, okay, all information is free. I'm not driving into that hyperbole, but I'm saying when you can actually offer anyone rather in the world with an internet connection, equal access to knowledge, like how awesome is that? Like if that is the blessing that we get in exchange for needing to Google the start and end years of the Civil War, like I'll take it. I will gladly have people who need to hit a Google search to remember something like that in exchange for the fact that millions more can hit a Google search and get information they never would have gotten before.
Do you subscribe to this idea of the internet hive mind, or in a long period of time, the internet sort of becoming the brain to represent all humans contributing knowledge and becoming one? One unit. Have you heard of this?
I have.
I think this is Ray Kurzweil Singularity.
Yeah, I read Similarities Near. That book hurt my head. There's a lot of heavy shit there. Then I talked to my physicist friend after he read it. He helped me understand parts of it, but I still probably don't understand. I like the fact that Kurzweil is such an idealist. I guess depending on how you look at it. Let's say he's such an optimist. He has a very very positive look about how technology is going to help us all live forever and all that kind of stuff. I suppose to some people it's some sort of rather challenging ideas, but the point is, I think, thank you. Don't get me wrong, I love the idea of all of us realizing, hey, we're all just human beings, like, trying to get through our limited time here, so let's just make the most from it. I don't know how realistic that necessarily is, but I think it's an ideal worth striving for. Sure, I mean, technologically, I suppose that's going to happen. Who knows? Not hardware.
So I've heard you use this phrase as far as the internet being the great equalizer. And you know, if you post a link versus you posting a link, I mean, theoretically, we both still have the same equal chance of...
Technologically, yeah.
Right, technologically.
Yes.
How do you see it equalizing the world? It's like we've seen the music industry, I guess, being affected by it, but what other aspects of the world do you think will be changed by that equalizing?
One of the things, so these tools, and this is still so like, social media wasn't a phrase when we started Red in 2005. And eventually that social part is just going to go away. It's just going to be media. When it's at its best is when I see examples of people who, what's a specific example? Random pseudonymous people who contribute an idea that actually is just a really awesome idea. I'll give you a specific example. There was, for a year and change, there was discussion about the Affordable Care Act, about Obamacare, but no one really in the media had distilled it into, like, here's the plain English, a few paragraphs of just what this is all going to entail. And some random user on, I guess, our politics subreddit broke it down in a few paragraphs. And this synopsis was so articulate, so objective, so just perfect that it made the rounds. I mean, the Washington Post covered it. Like, publications that you'd think would be writing their own had to admit, like, oh wow, this is the first time we've actually seen something that was just a plain English great explanation of something. And we don't know really anything about this user. We know that their idea was good and people liked it. And there's a chance that that person, in fact, I've been, one of the things I hear most often is people really appreciate the fact that this is something that gives them a voice that they don't feel like they would have in MeetSpace. Because, how else does a just regular person get a venue where hundreds of thousands or millions of people can see what she's writing? And do so in a way that is only judging her based on that idea, on that text, right? It's not how well did you present that talk. It's not how well did you handle yourself on live TV. It's, was this idea a good one? And so at the end of the day, I just want to see better. Like I said, I want to see better ideas bubble up. And Reddit is only one of many platforms, and it's not going to be the last one. We're going to continue refining this, continue improving this, and hopefully get to a point, again, if we get access to everyone and we get the skills to make the most out of it, we can actually surface the best ideas, whether they're the best ideas about art or politics or business or whatever, whether we can actually see those and benefit from them. Because when it works, it's this incredibly efficient marketplace of ideas. And like I said, technologically, it's democratic. It's just the rest of us who aren't. Well, those are our ideals, but we don't always live up to them.
It's a fascinating thing to me, like this guy who did that explanation of the bill. He was doing it for free.
Yeah, just for fun. But actually, no, I shouldn't say just for fun. He or she, I have no idea, was doing it because some number of people were going to see it. There was this sort of reward for internet points, and those come in different forms all over social media.
That's another question. What is the real? People love karma, even though it doesn't really do anything. And getting on the front page, what does a person get? Do you think from being on the front page of Reddit?
It is validation. I mean, it's the same thing as getting some number of retweets, and for Beyonce, the threshold is probably a lot higher. Whereas for some random person, just getting like 10 retweets is incredible. It probably feels just as good, or maybe even better, than a Beyonce tweet getting 1,000 or 100,000. But it's validation, and it scales along with the sort of validation these people need or crave. But I think it's also, I mean, we all like to know that our work is appreciated. We all like to know that the things we do are liked. And until very recently, it was very hard for us to hear that from strangers, because we could only really get our message to people who we knew or who were in our immediate peer group. And so unless we were famous, or unless we had a platform that had, we were on TV or on radio, there was no way to solicit that feedback from strangers. And there's something incredibly validating, more validating, in fact, because I know if my dad says that he likes something I did, he has to say that. but it's actually almost, it's a different kind of validation, and it's a very gratifying one to know that a bunch of random people actually, like the thing that you've taken time to produce. That they, how does it feel when you get a like or a positive comment on a YouTube video, or reaching the next order of magnitude of views? Like it feels good because we can quantify these things in a way that we just couldn't before, because we didn't have the technology to.
You get instant feedback from some guy in Poland, which was also impossible before.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, why not? And like I said, that is, so the hope is, I guess the challenge is we have this robust technology, this efficient democratic technology, and yet we have an inefficient, imperfect people using it, that is humans. And that it is a constant struggle to make sure, like I said, the internet lives up to the ideals that it can. But I still think, I'm still optimistic. Someone in an interview said I was not a glass half full kind of guy, but a silo half full kind of guy, which that says about right. Haven't spent a lot of time with silos, but I know they're much bigger than the glasses.